Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from AnthonysCustoms, and for this review, we are looking at the SH Figuarts Tiger and Bunny H-01 figure. Now, I don't want to talk about the fiction behind this character at all. In case any of you haven't seen the show yet, you should go see it. If you haven't, it's now on Netflix. That's why I'm reviewing all of these guys. This is an exclusive figure from some Tamashii Nations 2012. I guess the Tamashii show, the event. I don't know, but either way, it's fairly inexpensive at this point. You can track them down relatively cheaply, and it's a really cool looking figure, so I thought, what the heck, I'll get it, and I'll review it for you guys. So let's go ahead and get it off the stand and take a closer look. This guy stands almost exactly 6 inches, and of course that's going to change based on how you have his hips since we have the hinged ball peg, but just about 6 inches right there, which makes him a little bit over 15 centimeters, a little bit closer to 15.5 once you get him posed. So he's not the tallest figure in the world, but he is one of the cooler looking figures. We have this milky translucent red plastic, almost pink, so it has a really cool effect. You can see through it, but not too much, and that's intentional, so I like that. We have a mix of high gloss for a lot of the black, which is very shiny, and then we have satin and matte finishes for some of the other grays and metallic finishes. Very cool looking figure. And on top of that, one of his accessories is translucent orange, which just looks even cooler. And the reason I have that on there now is it's very hard to swap that out, and I didn't want to do it on camera, so I figured I'd put it on there now so you guys could see it and I could show it to you a little bit better. So speaking of that, let's talk about accessories. We don't have a ton, but he's got more than most of these Tiger and Bunny figures. As far as hands go, we have the 2 fist hands that come on him in the package, the 2 gripping hands, which can be used for his little web line thingies, and then they can also be used for the gun, but they're not great for that. And then we have the 2 open, kind of relaxed hands. They're all detailed very nicely. So I did mention it, we do have the 2 little web line shooting grappling thingies with the hinged handles, and they look very nice. We do have his gun, which is a new thing. We haven't had this on any of the other figures. Very nicely painted, nicely sculpted. Doesn't hold it very well though. That's kind of a bummer. And then we have this sword thing that's on his forearm. And that's why I wanted to leave that on there, because it just wouldn't have had the same effect if I was just setting it on the table for you to see. Translucent orange plastic, very nicely sculpted. Nice coloring, nice saturation. Some little holes in there which give it a little bit of extra style. And how this works is you pop off the forearm piece. They have tabs in them, so you take the whole forearm piece off. You pull out this little tiny black piece that's on top of the hand. That guy right there comes out, and it works on either side, and then this pegs in its place. So it's not, in theory, hard to do, but the little pegs that hold this in and that hold those little black pieces in, they're kind of stiff. So I figured I would just go ahead and do that ahead of time for you guys. But it's very cool looking. And then the little web shooter thingies do peg in on the back of the forearm things like before. So it pegs in back there, goes around up into his hand, and then that's how that works. And then lastly, we have his display stand, which is molded in a black translucent or smoke translucent plastic, which is pretty cool. All right, so now as far as this guy goes, we already talked about the paint, and you guys get the idea behind these. There's a lot of nice line work and sculpt work, and these guys are really cool looking. Usually the articulation's pretty good, but sometimes it gets loose. And that's the case with this guy a little bit too. We'll talk about that as we go, but he does have die cast in his lower legs, so balancing is definitely easier than most figures, but we do have some issues, so we'll get to that. As far as the neck goes, we have the neck on a ball peg, but the collar does limit it a lot. For the head on top of the neck, we have a hinged straight peg going into the top of the head, so it'll rotate on top of that, and then you have the hinge as well. So I mean, it's technically good, but because of that collar, you're not getting a whole lot out of it. So I don't know. There's not much they could have done with these collars. I guess that's just the way it goes. Shoulder pads are hinged independently, so that's nice. Then the arms move around the entire torso on the ball peg. Or you can move the entire arm around the torso on a ball peg. Let's see if I can English today. The hinged, I can't talk at all right now. We have the ball hinge for the shoulder, which does almost come out horizontally, but it makes this guy pop up funny. So that's not great. That's not great at all. I don't like that too much. We have our bicep swivel, so that's fine. Full rotation. Double jointed elbow gives you a little bit better than 90. This guy's a little bit bulkier, so it's not the best range at all. And then the hands, I'll try to pop one off without taking the gauntlet off so I can show you. We do have little ball hinges in there. So if you like ball hinge wrists, you have it. And you can swap them out without taking apart the gauntlet and armor piece right there. I'm just going to stop talking altogether here. I'll just point at things and you guys can figure it out, because I'm not saying the right words half the time anyway. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, ball peg for the upper torso, but you can see it's very oblong. It's very wide and not very thick, so you're not getting much range out of it. Just a little bit of leaning here and there. Not much rotation really either. Lower torso gives you kind of the same amount of range as the upper torso, so you're going to have to use them both to get some poses done. And you can, but they're not going to be particularly dynamic, so be aware of that. The hinged hips work pretty nicely. You can drop them down pretty far and bring the legs up pretty high, so that's nice. Going out to the side, yeah, better than most figures, so that's pretty good. They are a little floppy though, and that's because the legs are just so dang heavy from those die-cast parts. We have a thigh swivel, which is kind of minimal. The double jointed knees work pretty well. And then for the ankles, this is one of those issues where the die-cast just isn't tight enough, so we have a pretty loose ankle hinge. The ankle rocker works nicely. You can rotate the foot in there, or at least you're supposed to be able to. Mine doesn't want to do it. You should be able to rotate that. Mine won't go. And you do have a little bit of a toe hinge, but it's very minimal. So the die-cast parts aren't necessarily a great thing. I'm not a fan of die-cast. There's really no reason to be unless you just like heavy things. And that's the reason we have problems with this guy, partially. So yeah, it's a really cool looking figure. It's pretty inexpensive. It's limited in a lot of ways, but it does look awesome in a lot of ways. So I'm going to recommend it, but you need to know that those problems do exist before you buy it. So there you go, guys. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. I have new videos up every single day. We talk about action figures, movies, TV shows, video games, all kinds of fun stuff. So make sure you come back for that. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it. And in the meantime, keep collecting.